Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. Just in the nick of time is once again to talk about my progression in the Cursed City Rotation 3, and spoiler, I did not get very far in Soulcross this time around. It was pretty brutal at the very start, but as usual, we'll kick things off from the beginning. So I did all of normal, so I finished all, or I guess the best way to show this is the quests here. Did all of normal. For being in the end game, that's never ever really going to be a problem for me, and also was able to beat Amius. We'll take a look at the Amius team later on because it's the same between normal and hard mode. But if we flip back over to hard, like I've always said, my goal is to completely finish all of Cobblemarket, Deadrise, and Plagueholme, which was not the case this go around because I did get stuck, or well, I didn't finish this one just because for some reason I just don't have any like damage, poison, HP burn, whatever type of champions within these restrictions defense based. And so I couldn't get it with like 2 or 3 champions that are like half built. So I just kind of gave up on that one. It's like I'm willing to build champions, but in that case, it's just like I don't even have anyone who can deal damage to get through the waves. So maybe next time. I think like Ragash is very popular for those who have him on that team, or like a Chris who can kind of AoE and just kind of do a lot of damage, protect your team as well with the shield. But anyways, so like I said, we finished predominantly most of the primary 3, the lower 3 regions, and then Soulcross, I barely got anywhere. S6 was a huge roadblock for me, and I just did not have good champions. Like the first wave is devastatingly brutal with like Krokmaz and Uko and all this craziness that I just could not get past. I did a couple of things there, and then I mean this one doesn't really matter, but I couldn't really do much on S2 either. So very short-lived stint in Soulcross this time around. As far as the bosses to note along the way, I always like to highlight the Cobblemarket Baumel team. In this case, not much, nothing crazy here, but just running a cleanser. HP burn is our primary DPS, along with just kind of A1s, and then Uko just for decreased attack. So nothing really fancy there. For me, that's not that hard, but I understand for a lot of people it can be definitely hard to do Baumel in Cobblemarket. When it comes to Plagueholme, bosses I do like to highlight are the Eternal Dragon and hard mode Fire Knight. And so you can see here a bunch of force champions, that's the restriction. And I essentially just chose a bunch of champions that had multi-hit abilities, kind of capabilities. I think Nishak here is definitely the shining star. I tried to focus the Eternal Dragon first just to get him down. That way that since Nishak's A1 is a triple hitter at random, it kind of throws bombs, potentially throws bombs everywhere. But once you kill the Eternal Dragon and the minions, they all go into the Fire Knight shield. So having a triple hitter there was very strong. So that's how I kind of dealt with that. But everyone else there is just kind of dealing damage along the way. The next notable one was the Scarab King and the Spider. And this one was a really interesting run because I have my Annex built to be able to like not really solo Scarab King, but he does have a blood shield ring and he places a lot of poisons, decrease accuracy, and he's built with enough resistance to not get his buff stolen whenever the boss attacks him. And so he was kind of just focusing on poisoning the boss. And then we had Kaja the Rai in here just to kind of cleanse and keep us unprovoked. And then the other 2 were primarily just to keep AoE damaging the spiders and the spiderlings, so that the Spider Queen didn't like get a bunch of damage and start killing us over time. But obviously they're not built with resistance, so they were proccing the or they don't have shields or blood shields, so they were proccing the Scarab King hits. But again, primary damage for that was just poisons. We didn't worry about destroying max HP in this comp. And lastly, we have stage 16, which is usually one of the hardest ones, or the most difficult, because of the double the poison and then poison activation combo between these 2 bosses. But MVP once again, Sanguinia. I still say a fairly underrated epic, but she does have an ability that it's effectively a full cleanse for your entire team. It can also transfer the debuffs from your team to the enemy if you have enough accuracy, but I built her just with resistance, so I don't usually get the transfer. We bring in Soul of the Drake, so we have some healing and potential revive. And then honestly, Roshkar the Tower was kind of really nice there too. He's unbooked on my account, but just having every once in a while being able to put up block damage like right before the poisons are about to explode or something, because so it blocks the damage, was pretty neat. Gaius is in there because he would sleep the Nether Spider's minions, so they wouldn't be able to hit us and add additional poisons. And then Ronda was just kind of DPS. I guess honorable mention to Ancora, who on my account is not yet built, but she would be a really good champion if you did her fragment summon. So obviously she's another cleanser, or she could be your only cleanser if you don't have Sanguini, for example, and you did the fusion. So she can definitely work. You get a nice shield, you get a full cleanse, so it gets rid of all the poisons that they can get stacked up on your team. Moving over to Deadrise, I do like to always highlight the Scarab King here, and we can see my super balanced, easy team here. I get to showcase my Destroy Set Newt here, who was able to take down the Scarab King basically on his own. He has Blood Shield as well because he is on my main Scarab King team for the same purpose, to make that go fast. And Brogni also happens to have Blood Shield, and he also provides a shield with his ability. So he was our healer in this case, and then Newt just basically did all the damage with the Blessed Bash with the Destroy Set, destroying the max HP, making it do more damage. So just kind of taking turns and is a solid duo comp there. And then for stage 15, which is Bommel and hard mode Ice Golem, you can see I have this comp here featuring Newt once again, because I mean, if you can use them and you do have them, you might as well. Grush in there for some healing a little bit. Rayla was nice as a debuffer. Kyoku was a bit of an ally protection champion, but she puts block damage on herself, so she can kind of tank some damage for the team. And then we actually brought in Blizzard the Howler, previous fusion, Christmas fusion, unbooked as well, but just occasionally he can land a freeze on the bomb minions, so they just do less damage because obviously we don't have a reviver, so if anyone dies, they're gone forever. And so that was that. And then like I said, Gresh was our healing, so when people got low from the bombs pulling up, when frozen, he would put out the continuous heals, and then we'd be able to heal back up. And then obviously Newt is our primary DPS here for killing both of the bosses. And then for Soulcross, like I already mentioned, we didn't get very, very far, but I will mention early show the team I used for Iron Twins. You can see basically some healing, some cleanse. Brimstone champion here being Gomlock, even though he's negative affinity. I think majority of the team actually died once he's like got to the end where he starts doing the big like A4 ability. But Wukong's in there because even if he dies, he comes back to life. So he was a good damage. His A2 really smacks against bosses like this who have like I guess ignorable defense with his ability, right? And then Nishak, even though, again, negative affinity, but decreased attack on occasion, and then just placing bombs to placing bombs that would turn into poison. So there's just a lot of poisons. And you can see here, we don't, like I said, we don't have decreased speed, so the boss would take a lot of turns. And so just having him stacked up with a bunch of bombs and or poisons was just having him kill himself over time on top of the Brimstone. And then I think Wither and Tila basically survived till the end with Wukong popping back up to finish him off with some HP burns. One thing I do want to mention though about Soulcross is that they actually did make a change, and they changed the free gear removal cost or whatever time frame to, instead of being at the beginning of the Curse City rotation, so instead of being like in the next few days once the rotation 4 or 1, or I don't even know what the next rotation is, but whenever that starts, it's not going to be there anymore. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, so somewhere around the 2-week-ish mark, which basically gives people enough time to kind of grind through, and potentially the people who are really grinding hard for hard mode, they can push through to Soulcross as quickly as possible, take the shortest path, and then start doing their gear swapping that they do to get through all of the harder, super hard stages. So I didn't even really look at any of these because I couldn't get past 6, so I have no idea how hard it is. I think I saw some people getting through, but it's a shame because I usually like to see Sand Devil and hard mode Fire Knight here, and then if I can get all the way out there, like the Dark Fae Dragon combo is pretty cool if you can get there. Oh, I like to see what the Awakened stages are, but unfortunately didn't have the champions or people that can really get through stage 6, and even then, even if I did, I don't think I could get past stage 8, which I think was another bottleneck for a lot of people. So I could have like 3 champions built for this, and so yeah, some rotations are just not for you, and for me that's just like, all right, I'll just wait until the next one. And I did what I could, and we just move on and focus on other things in the game. So lastly, we do need to talk about the big bad boss, and this took a good chunk of iteration to finally figure out how to get this guy down. I did take advantage of that gear removal time period that I mentioned in the middle to kind of iterate and figure this out, and this is the team I ended up using. And you can see one thing to note here is that we actually don't have decreased attack on this squad. Drexstar has it in his kit, but he can only land it on target who he lands a provoke on, which I really hate, unfortunately. I think he should just be able to place AoE decreased attack. He's a free champion. You get him from the bazaar. I really think that's worthy of a champion of his caliber. It's the same thing with Vogoth. They have the same problem. They can only land on targets who are provoked. Anyways, So we didn't have Decrease attack, but somehow we still made it through. Arbiter is just really, really good for this fight. She is a reviver, but also that heal is a lot more powerful than you think. And then just turn meter filling keeps you ahead of the boss in a lot of cases. God of the Rise in here because she is a cleanser paired with my other cleanser here, Wither the Ground. And then she's also, or she can be our block debuffs champion for when the stun comes up on form 1. And Drexler obviously is our primary DPS. He's our Brimstone champion, but also I did have to rebuild him to have a lot higher accuracy. But he is our just having the HP burn on his passive whenever or on the A1 is pretty nice. So whenever Amius would take turns, and he would take a lot of turns, he just hits Drexler, puts a burn on himself, and is slowly ticking down his HP. And then the star of the show is actually this rare here, Hellborn Sprite. We can take a look at her. She's the only champion that I freshly built for this rotation. I didn't have to do much of anything. But again, I didn't get super far in Soulcross, so that might be part of why I didn't have to build a bunch of champions. But she was the only one I did have to build from scratch. And thankfully, I had her because I don't have that many non-void rares at the moment, but I did have her, and she is our heal reduction champion. So for those who don't know, on her A2 she has 3 chances here, 75% chance, but 3 attempts, so it's practically guaranteed unless you just get really, really unlucky, but it's practically guaranteed 75% chance, 3 chances to land heal reduction on the A2, 3-turn cooldown. But she is also nice because of this ability here where she can increase the duration of all ally buffs. So in my case, there's a lot of healing on the team with like Wither's passive and stuff, so you can extend some heals. But more importantly, it helps bait out his proper skill rotation in Form 2 with the increased crit rate because he wants to flip your buffs into debuffs. And so instead of taking like flipping Wither's increased defense into decreased defense, which is really bad, it'll flip increased crit rate into decreased crit rate, which who cares, right? We're not really doing raw damage to kill the boss. So she's nice for 2 reasons, but she is ridiculously squishy. And that was one of the hardest things I had to contend with. Is that her defense is super low, her HP is super low, even though she's a support. I get it that she's rare, but her stats are so low for a support. She's almost like an attack-based champion, more or less in terms of base stats, but I digress. So keeping her alive was really, really hard, and I ended up going with the regen set. I guess we can hop over there while we're here, while we're talking about her. I think she is in the vault, but take a look quickly through her gear, but I did build her in regen and perception here, and so 225 on the speed, 48,000 on the HP, 2,000 on the defense. So I wanted to skew her more towards HP because the boss ignores defense. And at the time that I beat it, she didn't have the 2-star blessing. I got that in the last soul summoning video. If you guys watched that, you saw that happen. But I did this without that, so I biased her towards HP because he ignores defense anyway. So there's no point stacking her with defense; it's just going to get ignored. But the main thing here was just getting enough accuracy in the build. So 462, this is somewhere around 475 is where you want to target. But 462 is typically good enough to get it more often than not. So that's her build. And yeah, that's how I was able to beat Amius on rotation 3 here. So I've beaten him twice now, rotation 2 and rotation 3. I believe that I now could beat it on rotation 1 now that I have Oella built and maxed. But whenever rotation 1 comes around, we'll see if I can actually do it. Put the proof to the pudding there. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. And let me know if you guys have any questions on any particular composition you want a little bit more detail about, or certain bosses or something, whatever's hard for you guys. Let me know and I can add that in to the next rotation and talk about that boss instead of the ones that I just like to highlight. And yeah, like I said, we didn't get very far. Soulcross was the bottleneck. S6 specifically was the bottleneck. So there's not much to say about any of these potentially super hard stuff here that's more catered to people in the end game. And yeah, let me know how far you guys get in the Cursed City every time. What's your goal? What's your target? Do you want to get the 3 easy levels of hard, so to speak, or do you want to just beat normal? What do you guys want to accomplish when you approach the Cursed City? And as always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below and feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.